think that there is a way, or do you think that it is possible to overshare?
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
What would be an example of oversharing?
I don't know. I mean, if there ever was a time where we weren't going to make the mortgage, I don't think they need to know that. I don't think they need to know that fear because they can't. Again, they're boys. They want to fix it, right? They can't fix it. They can't.
I'm thinking about how it'd be like, oh, I have this much money in my piggy bank. Right? It's like, hey,
$57. It's yours if you need it. Or sharing necessarily like, hey, we weren't doing, and this didn't happen. We were fine the whole time. But if our marriage was struggling because of this stress, like they don't need to know that. They've seen friends and family get divorced and that wrecks their whole world. They don't need to know that like we're beefing, over something that's temporary and it's going to be fine. So I think anything that one, they can't fix, two, is just too personal and too grown up. Like it's hard enough knowing that daddy doesn't have a job and mommy hasn't made money in 11 years and what the heck are we going to do? That's enough, especially because I think kids don't fully understand what all that means.
Yeah.
I mean, both of their first reactions when we told them was, does that mean we have to go to school? And I was like, no, absolutely not. So it's hard for them to think of adult things because they don't know adult things because their job is to be kids.
What about undersharing?
Yeah, I think not telling them, I think acting like everything was freaking fine would have been really stupid.
So let's just say not just only as far as unemployment goes, right? But just life that goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, I think like, okay, in the sense of unemployment, I think had we not told them and then we're saying no to surf camp, well, why? Why would you say no to that? I did it last year. It was great. Or, why Bennett wanted to wrestle so badly and we just couldn't pay for it. Those things, I think it just makes them question and then they internalize the questions because they're not getting the answers and then they stress themselves out and they don't need to do that. I do think you need to be careful with what you share and how you share. And then I think you also need to be available afterwards. Like, hey, we told you this big upsetting news. Now you're free to talk to us whenever you want to about it. And not get bothered and annoyed by it.
And check in with it.
And check in. I think we could have done better at checking in and seeing how things were going. There was a few times where, a kid would melt down and then it would come out, well, I'm just worried. But yeah, I definitely think you can undershare. I think, especially at our kids' ages. I mean, when you lost your job when they were 2 and 4, they didn't even know that. They don't care.
Yeah.
That means nothing to them. But at 8 and 10, it's a big deal. And it's something they can wrap their heads around.
Do you ever feel as if your parents, or does anything stick out in your mind of a time where your parents undershared or overshared with you?
Yes. I'll give like a pretty, like, not put their business out there. I had no idea my parents drank until I was 21. And that blew my freaking mind. I might have been 19. I was 19 because we were in Australia and my dad had a beer. And I was like, Dad drinks beer? And like now I know that
How
he
old
drinks
were you?
19.
So you're 19.
I'm 19. And my mom doesn't really drink, but she came down for my 21st birthday. I was living at the beach and she got a drink and I was like, you, what? Okay. That like blew my mind. And I think, growing up in church and everything, I thought drinking was like so bad. And now that I'm a parent, I'm like, oh, like they were just protecting me and just like, because I had friends whose parents like threw parties and were drunk on the front porch. Like, that's not great. So I appreciate what they did and I understand their line of thinking behind it. But it's one reason why we've chosen to let the boys see us drink every once in a while or whenever, and to have wine in the house and it not be this like stigma. Because I think, even though I don't think my parents ever made it a stigma, in my head, I made it one.
That's probably also attributes to the way that you grew up as far as the church culture.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Like, I grew up in, like, good old-fashioned 2000 purity culture. Like,
Tell us how you really feel about
God,
that.
Another podcast. But yeah, so I think yeah, that there's definitely like an undershare option. But I don't ever feel like I was left out like big crazy stuff as a kid.
But at the same time, it's when almost as if there's no real good time to actually share that information with you, right? And so,
well, there's big things that we've told the boys, like, we'll tell you when you're 16, or we'll tell you when
I
you're
know,
18.
right? They got a whole list of things.
They have a whole list of things.
Dad did what? And I said, I'm going to tell you at 16. I guess it'll be 14 for Ben.
Yeah, you have to tell them together.
Tell them
You gotta
together,
tell them
right?
together.
Ben, I'm just like, now, even with that, because there's a 2-year difference, right? And Judah at 16 is a bit more mature, hopefully has a little bit more logical thinking, right?
And that even though to us, like, they don't have any bills to pay, they're fine. But like, our bills are their bills. And if we lost a car, that was their car. And if we lost a house, that was their house.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's important to share.